offshore fishing trips and private charters and party boat trips. So we do a little bit of everything, anything from the beach all the way out past 1,000 foot of water, and anything in between. So mostly the grouper, the snapper, the bottom species is kind of what we specialize in, but we do often catch some of those pelagic species, and we do offer trips that target those as well. But today we're going to be talking about what you guys want to talk about. We like trying to cater these things to what you want to hear. So if you have a question about a species of fish, or if I'm talking about stuff and you want a little bit more information, please go ahead. So we're going to start out with talking about what's going on now. This time of year, we're coming into summer, mid-May. We're just on the backside of that spring kingfish and mackerel run. So those kings and macks are starting to kind of move out of the area and kind of spread out a little bit on us. Kingfish and mackerel are here through the summer, but they get much more sparse compared to the way that they are in their spring and fall runs. So we're definitely on the backside of that now. Those mackerels are thinning out near shore. Offshore, those kingfish are getting a little fewer and further between, but we'll still catch them offshore all the way through the summer, especially out deeper where those thermoclines hold those fish. Because those kingfish and mackerel, anywhere from about 72 degrees all the way up to about 78 degrees. That's that water temperature they like, but 74 to like 76 is that prime time zone. Anything above 78, those kingfish and mackerel start moving away from that area and start heading up to the northern Gulf for the summertime. So that's kind of what's going on with the pelagic species. Also, we have wahoo starting to show back up as the water warms up. The wahoo kind of come home for the summer. And then we have the sailfish, the billfish, definitely picking up. This time of year is a good time of year for that. We see a lot in the month of May, early June, and then towards the end of the summertime as well as they travel around a root current. So we have seen a few of those caught and a few of those hooked, and it's a good time of year to get offshore and enjoy some of that pelagic action. If you guys are just showing up, you want to get one of those raffle tickets, come on up and we'll hand you out one. But besides the pelagic action, as far as the bottom fishing goes, right now we're all gearing up for our June 1st start of red snapper season. Red snapper is going to open June 1st. Thank you. Red snapper is going to open June 1st. Also, gag grouper open June 1st. So everybody's kind of gearing up for that. So what that means for us is right now it's a great time to get out there for you locals and for you guys who want to enjoy the trips without having a bunch of people on board. So there's not a lot of people out in the water right now. The Gulf is kind of a ghost town. It's pretty interesting. Everybody's kind of waiting for two species of fish to open. So there's a lot of room in all these trips, and that's really allowing us a lot of flexibility to do a bunch of different things. We've been catching some good fish. The red grouper bites definitely starting to pick up. Those red grouper in the months of February and March, they're closed. They have those deep water closures, so they're not closed for harvest. You just can't harvest them in deep water. So inside of 120 feet, you can keep red grouper, but they're not in there in February and March because those red grouper are out in deep water spawning. So after February and March, those fish start to move back inshore slowly. And it was really slow this year. In April, we didn't really see much red grouper action unless you were out there almost 200 foot of water. Now in May, those red grouper are definitely starting to come back. Anywhere from about 80, 90, 100 foot of water, we're getting some decent red grouper action. Even up to about 110 foot, but from 120 to about 140, 150 foot, not a lot of red grouper action, but out there deeper water, 180, 200 foot, we're seeing some big ones right now too. So the red grouper are a little spotty right now overall throughout the water, but we are definitely starting to see kind of an uptick in action on them. Scamp grouper are biting really well, mixed in with those reds out there in deeper water. We're seeing some good mangrove snapper action. This full moon has really made the fishing for mangrove snapper pretty easy. This last midweek 39-hour trip, the mangrove snapper action at night was insane. They caught a ton of mangroves at night. The nighttime bite was really, really good overall. But that daytime action was a lot slower because of that full moon. Now, a lot of people think, oh, full moon, let's go fishing. Fishing's going to be great. It's It's not always true. Offshore during the day on a full moon, that daytime fishing can be very slow. Also, you want to kind of time your trip, because right in the dead center of that full moon, the fishing's not as good at night or during the day. The best time to fish on these moons is a couple days before or 3 or 4 days after. Because right in the middle of that peak time, those fish have already been excited for a few days and they've already they've already partied it out, you know? When that full moon is getting full and they start seeing this light and they start able to be feeding all night, that's when they're getting really, really excited, those couple days leading up to it. Once it's actually full, 99% illuminated, you know, that's when the action tends to actually slow down a little bit. Also, you got to keep in mind on these full moons and new moons, you have more current, more tide, so you have to use a little bit more weight. When you're out there in deeper water, it's even harder to feel the light because you have this ripping current to deal with as well. So that's kind of what's going on right now, near shore and offshore, and a little bit about the moon phases. So you guys want to talk about anything specific? Anybody want to hear about a specific species?
What dead bait are you supplying on the boats?
What type of dead bait are we supplying on the boats? Well, that's a good question. We supply threadfins and squid on our longer range trips. Yeah, if you guys haven't collected a raffle ticket, come on up here and grab one. Here you go, sir. So the dead bait that we supply is threadfins and squid. So the threadfin is like a sardine or a cigar minnow. It's basically your frozen dead bait. It's right here, actually. Now this has been in my truck bed all day, so it's a little stinky. So you guys in the front row, you're welcome. So this is a threadfin here. So your basic dead bait is what we provide on the boat. Now these guys make great mangrove snapper bait. This is pretty much my go-to bait when I'm near shore, offshore fishing. A lot of people say, what's your favorite bait? This is one of them. Whether this is a sardine or a threadfin or a cigar minnow, just basically your frozen dead bait is a great way to start offshore, near shore fishing. What I do with this guy is I'll trim up the head and trim up the tail, and you're left with a plug. So you cut the head, cut the tail, all I'm left with is that meat, and then I'll put that on the double snell rig. And a lot of times with these thread fins, what I'll do as well is I'll trim the belly right out of it. I didn't bring the cutting table, so hopefully I'm not cutting the table here, but nobody tell Bass Pro. So what we're left with is just basically a perfect size chunk. You've actually opened up the belly cavity as well. So now the head, the tail, and the trim of the belly is done. So you're left with just a chunk of meat. And this is super oily, super smelly. When it gets down to that waterfall, it really attracts the snapper action. And you can also catch grouper with it as well. And this is kind of my go-to starting bait when you get out to a fishing spot. The reason why is it gets that smell going in the water, gets the action going, it wakes up those fish. And once those smaller fish get woke up, a lot of times those bigger fish will come out to play as well. So it's one of those things you kind of start the process off. So that is one of the baits we provide. Also, the other bait we provide is the squid. And I don't have a good representation. Oh, there's one. So here is a squid strip is what I would call it. And these are what we provide on our longer range trips as well. This is a great bait for red grouper. Also, it's a really good bait for red snapper. These squid strips really stay on your hook well. Now the trick with these guys is you got to put the hook through that skin of the bait, and that's going to be what holds that bait on your hook a lot better. And these squid strips kind of float in the water, and they mimic an octopus tentacle. And they really get those fish excited. And I really wish I remembered my fishing towels. The squid strips work really well for those red grouper and those red snappers for that reason, because it mimics that octopus tentacle. The red grouper, their favorite bait out there is that octopus. They go crazy for an octopus. A lot of times people will catch an octopus while you're out there fishing, and that is some of the best bait you can find out there. So that's why we cut our squid strips to match that octopus tentacle. When you've got 10, 15, 20, 30 people on a boat using that same octopus tentacle, and you're drifting across a piece of hard bottom, those fish really get excited. During red snapper season out there, 120, 140 foot of water, it's a great method to drift over that shell bottom for those big schools of red snapper. And back when the red grouper were really, really thick near shore 4, 5, 6 years ago, that's what we used to do on our 10-hour all days, is drift over that hard bottom with those squid strips and catch a bunch of those red grouper. Now that the red grouper bites kind of slowed down a little bit, we're doing a lot more with the shrimp and anchoring up on the ledges for those hogfish. Because the dead bait works really well for a large variety of species. Like this little strip I showed you before, the redfin plug is what I call that. It's a redfin plug. That works well, really designed well for mangrove snapper, lane snapper, porgies. You catch some grouper with it occasionally, scamp grouper, especially red grouper, and occasionally a gag grouper, and then a bunch of the snapper species. The squid works really well for kind of the more aggressive snappers, like the vermilions, the lanes, the yellowtails, and then near shore, the gray snapper or the white grunts, porgies, that kind of stuff. But the hogfish, some of those more picky fish, they really want those live shrimp. So the live shrimp is an extra option. It's not something that we provide on the boat. It's an extra option, but those live shrimp work really, really well for those hogfish. And if the bite's a little slower, like a lot of people on our 39-hour trip, they'll purchase live bait and they'll buy pinfish. And the pinfish work really, really well out there for big mangrove snapper. Like a pinfish like this guy, some people scoff at these little pinfish when we have them in the tanks, but these things are what you catch your 8, 9, 10-pound mangroves with. They work really, really well for big mangrove snapper. Then your bigger pinfish work better for the grouper. Obviously, this is still a little bit of a small pinfish, but your bigger pinfish is going to be your grouper bait. Your smaller pinfish is more of your snapper bait. And the pinfish are a great option for live bait as well. But when you're out there, especially like on the 39 or 44-hour trip, and you're fishing for a long time. For example, on that 44-hour trip, we have one out offshore right now. They called on the sat phone. They're doing really well. Excuse me. But they left the dock at 10 a.m. on Friday. They started fishing at almost 7 o'clock on Friday night, and they're going to fish all the way until almost 9 o'clock on Saturday night. So that's almost 25 hours of fishing time there. And they got a full sunset bite, they got a full night bite, they got a sunrise bite, and then they got a daytime bite all the way through that following day. So you see all the evolutions, and you see all the different times of day. And typically during the day, that midday period, especially on a full moon, it's even more exacerbated, but typically that midday time frame from 11 a.m. You're the man, I appreciate it. That midday time frame from like 11 a.m. To about 2 p.m. Is when the bite can get a little slow, especially in the summertime. When it gets really hot outside, guys, and that water is really calm. In the summertime, we don't have these high pressure systems and low pressures. It just is really, really static out there in the Gulf. So what we get are the summertime doldrums is what we call it. So out there in the midday, it's like flat as a lake. The water looks like glass. It gets super hot and stale. And when you have that going on, a lot of times that midday period, the bite is kind of slow, kind of stinks. And so that's the time of day when those shrimp make a really, really good option. And especially with something like this, you pair one of those shrimp, or you pair one of those thread fin plugs with a setup like this. This is a knocker rig, and the knocker rig has an egg sinker on it. That egg sinker doesn't have anything to disturb it moving up and down the line. That egg sinker is just free floating on your main line. And then you have a single hook on there, or a double snell hook on there. And what that does is when you put that live shrimp or that thread fin plug or even that live pinfish on this knocker rig, that's going to go down to the bottom very slowly, because as that lead gets further and further from your So when the bite's going really, really good and you're catching a lot of fish, you don't need a knocker rig. There's no reason for it. You should use one of the bottom rigs that gets you down there really quickly, because you want to get down to the bottom really fast and you want to have the power to get that fish up to the top really quickly. So one of these bottom rigs would be better if the bite's going well. But if the bite slows down and the fishing's kind of slow, that's when you lighten up the tackle and you try a different technique like that knocker rig fishing. So during the summertime, when you get those midday doldrums, a knocker rig technique or approach is a great way to catch more fish and get them chewing. Did that answer your question? Long-winded answer, huh?
What size hooks are you using?
Good question. Her question was, what size hooks are we using? Well, it kind of depends on what trip you're doing or what depth of water you're fishing and what species you're fishing for. But for near shore fishing, all around good hook size from anywhere from 20 foot of water out to about 60, 80 foot of water is about a 4 to 5 aught hook. That's a good size for snapper, hogfish, mangroves, lane snapper, and then for grouper, more like 6 or 7 aught hook. And then once you're past 100 foot of water, and you're getting out there to 100, 110, 120, up to 180, 200 foot, typically for snapper like a 5 or 6 aught hook, mostly a 6 aught hook. And then for grouper, more like a 7, 8, 9, even 10 aught hook, depending on the size of your bait. Now guys, one last time here, last chance. If you have not picked up a raffle ticket, you want a chance to win those free trips, come on up, grab a raffle ticket before we stop handing them out. We won't hand any more of these out, guys. So your last chances. Hey, how are you? Good to see you guys. Thanks for coming. All right. So your hook size really varies depending on what species and what depth. Also with your hook size, so does your leader size. Typically for near shore fishing, again, anywhere less than about 100 foot of water. For snapper, 30, 40 pound test. Offshore, past 100 foot of water for snapper, 40, 50, even 60 pound test. And when gag grouper season is open and you're using that thread fin plug and a double snell rig for those mangrove snapper, a lot of times that 50 pound leader or 40 or 50 pound leader that I'd be using on this double snell rig, I would switch that to like the 60 pound test. And the reason why is come gag grouper season, you want a chance to catch that big gag. And elephants do occasionally eat peanuts, so sometimes you do catch a big gag grouper on that thread fin plug. And the only chance that you're going to have of getting him up off the bottom is having that 60 pound test. And then a 2-speed reel really helps as well, because you're able to downshift and get that big grouper up off the bottom. So that kind of depends on your fishery. But what type of fishing do you do mostly?
Mostly inshore.
Mostly inshore? So when you go offshore, where are you fishing typically? Okay, so shallower water, like 30, 40 foot of water. I would probably use like a 30 pound test leader and like a 4-aught hook to start, with some cubes of squid and that fish finder rig, which is the slip lead on your main line, your swivel, and then about a 4 or 5 foot leader, and then the double snell hook or just a single hook rig, some of that squid. Try that out. And then once you get into an area where the fish are biting really well, and you find some good spots, meaning some ledges or rock piles or stuff like that, you can try some of that bigger bait on a bigger tackle setup for some of those groupers, especially as the water cools down and we get into October, November, December, those gag grouper come inshore. And those areas in April is great fishing for gag grouper in shallow water. You've got to use much bigger tackle and bigger hooks, like 7-aught hooks, 80 pound test, bigger reel, like a 6-aught reel. Any other questions? Blue shirt back there.
Red snapper.
All right, red snapper. We're going to cover red snapper. Red snapper is one of those things. Recently we filmed a Salt Strong red snapper mastery course. So if you're a Salt Strong insider, definitely check that out. It's going to come out. It's going to be free. So instead of those fishing courses on Salt Strong are normally paid, even if you're a member, but this one's going to be free if you're already a club member with Salt Strong. So instead of hearing me talk about it, you can actually watch me do it on the boat, which was pretty cool. But when they asked me to do it, It was funny because it's like, how do you do a course on red snapper? Because the thing about red snapper is they eat basically anything out there. Red snapper will eat anything from that squid strip I showed you, that threadfin plug I showed you, that shrimp I showed you, that pinfish I showed you, any size pinfish. They love bonita strips. They'll eat mackerel. They'll eat one of these vertical jigs. They'll eat one of these flare hawk jigs. They'll eat anything, man. Those red snapper are super aggressive. So the thing about red snapper, when I go out there for red snapper, is I try to target, or I try to utilize a piece of bait that I'm going to catch a variety of species with. Because you're only allowed a few red snappers, so I like to try to use some to where I'm going to have a chance at catching other fish too. So one of my favorite go-tos, again, is that threadfin plug. Because with this threadfin plug, you can catch some really big red snapper with it, but you can also have a shot at some of those mangrove snappers, some of those vermilions and porgies and scamp and whatever else might be lurking down there at the bottom. So the threadfin plug is kind of my go-to. But definitely, if you're asking me what's my favorite bait to target big red snapper, it's a strip of bonita. You go out and get a bonita, or you're trolling and you catch a bonita while you're trolling. You fillet that thing out and you strip the fillet. So you fillet it just like we're going to eat the bonita for dinner. You lay the fillet skin side down on the cutting table and you strip it out. And that belly strip, the belly cavity, where all the guts are hanging out, that thin belly strip is the best bait, hands down, for big red snapper. Why? Because it's just like that squid strip. It's that flap that kind of mimics an octopus tentacle. It's got that silver skin on it, so it's kind of flashy. And bonita is super bloody, oily meat. So it's in the water, it's flashing, it's flapping in the current, and it's got that stink going on too. And red snapper, they just love it. So bonita strips, especially the belly strip, is some of the best bait for red snapper. And it works well for a variety of other species too. Also big live baits like squirrelfish or sand perch, lizardfish, really good options for red snapper. Typically your red snapper tackle would be about a 7/0 circle hook and about 60 to 80 pound test. And for red snapper, I would put away that 2-speed reel. I'd bring out the bigger 2-speed reel, which has got 40 pounds of drag to it. But in reality, most of the time for red snapper, you're going to be using at least like a 6/0. Excuse me, keep working. Like at least a 6/0 reel. But if I was dropping down a big strip of bonita or a big live bait during red snapper season, my trusty 9/0 would be my go-to as well. Because also keep in mind when you're out there in deep water for those red snapper, gag grouper are also open, so it kind of depends on where you're fishing. That flat hard bottom is a great area to find those bait schools, and those bait schools are going to have clouds of red snapper around it. And with the clouds of red snapper on flat hard bottom, that 9/0 isn't necessary. Something smaller like that 4/0 is all I need. But if you're fishing a big wreck and you've got a bunch of superstructure where those red snappers can go break you off, then something like that 9/0 would be a little bit more necessary. 80 pound test would be a little bit more necessary. But generally, flat hard bottom or semi-hard bottom like that shell works really, really well. And just 60 pound test with the 7/0 or 7/0 circle hook works well. And anything with 30, 35, 40 pounds of drag is what you need to get one of those guys up. But the thing about them is, you can catch them with such a large variety of bait. It takes a little bit of practice to find out what's working that day for those fish. Because you can get out to an area and that day they might not want that redfin plug. They might be biting on that squid, or they might be biting on that bonita a little better. So just trial and error, see what's working for you. Also keep in mind, a lot of times the biggest ones are going to be at the top or bottom of that water column. So a lot of times you can catch a big red snapper up above the school. When we were offshore filming for that red snapper course with Salt Strong, we just did that a couple weeks ago. We were trying to catch a big red snapper, and I was dropping down to the bottom with that threadfin plug because I was trying to catch mangrove snapper too. And I was catching nice mangrove and I slowed the descent of the bait by holding my thumb on the spool a little harder, so that way the spool went down the bottom more slowly. And as I was going to bottom, I got slammed, and that ended up being the biggest red snapper that we caught that day. And that was just because I slowed the bait down to bottom, especially when you're using live bait. If you're fishing for red snapper, you're dropping down a pinfish, drop it down really slowly, because a lot of times that big red snapper, that super aggressive fish, he's going to hit it on the way to the bottom. Not only do you not have to worry about getting hung in the bottom or getting broke off, but you also have less area to fight that fish, so you get into the boat more quickly. He's in the water less time, and if you're over your limit or if he's not big enough to your liking, you can get him back in the water and he's not going to die as likely because you didn't bring him all the way up from the bottom too. So really good option to fish for those fish, not on the bottom, but up off the bottom on the top of that water column. And to answer your question. Any other questions? Hang on one second, let me get someone that didn't happen.
Those longer trips that you offer, the 2-day at 39 or 44, your boats offer a place to rest or sleep, and how do you prepare for this so you get the most out of the fishing trip?
Good question. So his question was on our longer range trips, do we have somewhere to sleep and how do you prepare for those trips? That is the secret, my man, is first, yes, we do have somewhere to sleep on our 39 and 44-hour trips. Everybody is assigned a spot to fish and a bunk when they make their reservation. I'm a big guy. The bunks are comfortable. They're 7 foot long, 6 inches of foam, and they're like maybe 2.5, 3 foot wide. They're comfortable. I sleep on it. Okay. So also with the boat, you have a shower, you have heads or restrooms, you have a full galley, so you have the option of hot food throughout the trip. We have an air conditioning closed cabin. Everybody has their own personal live well, so you have a live well just for you to hold up before dozen. Those are kind of the amenities of the fishing trip. And then as far as preparing for the fishing trip, the biggest mistake I see new guests and new clients and new fishermen make on that long range trip is they're so excited, which I get it. That's awesome. I wish everybody had that type of excitement when they come into a trip. But they're so excited to get on the boat, they troll the whole way out, and then they're staying up, they're drinking beer, talking to their buddies, they're rigging their rods, they're cutting their bait, they're making extra leaders, they're trolling, and then all of a sudden, the captain's like, all right, drop them down, let's fish. And they go to bed. And then they sleep through the night. And then by the time they wake up, it's the worst part of the day, you know? So the 39-hour trip, for example, it leaves the dock at 3 p.m. We start fishing, bottom fishing around midnight, 1 a.m. And we fish until about 7 to 9 p.m. the next night. That first part of bottom fishing from 1 to 2 a.m. until sunrise is when we catch a majority of the snapper that we catch during that trip. Those first couple hours at night are some of the best fishing time. So if you sleep through that because you were trolling, carrying on the way out, you miss out on a lot of that good fishing time. So the biggest tip I can give people, what I do at least for a 39-hour trip, is if I know I'm going out on one, I'll go to bed really early on Thursday night, and I'll wake up crazy early Friday morning, and then I'll try to get a lot of stuff done that Friday, so that way when I get on the boat, I'm already tired. So it's easy for, and after PM is a good trick as well. And then I get on the boat, I'm already tired, so it's easy to catch some sleep before we start fishing. For the 44-hour, it's even more tricky, because on the 44-hour, you leave at 10 a.m., and you start fishing about 7 to 9 o'clock that night. So the 44-hour, a lot of people don't like that trip, just because it's tough for them to get that sleeping schedule right. So one of the guys that goes fishing with us is saying is you catch the fish of your dreams while everybody else is dreaming. And that's true on those trips. You want to try to make sure that you're not sleeping during that nighttime fishing. But as far as how to prepare for it, you want to pack like you're going camping for the weekend. Don't forget stuff to shower with. A lot of people don't realize there's a shower on the boat. After 20 or 25 hours of fishing time, taking a shower before you land in that bunk is awesome. It's not a fancy shower, but even getting wet, putting some soap on is awesome after a long day of fishing. Also, Also, as far as food goes, you have the galley, so you can do the meal package option where we supply hot food, cold drinks, all that. You can bring your own food and drink. As far as tackle goes for one of those long range trips, that's a big question because some people, you have the one guy who comes in from Canada and he fishes with us one time per year, maybe once every other year. So he doesn't have any tackle. He flies in, he rents a rod, everything's hunky-dory. Then you have the guy from Alabama who goes 6 times a year. He might have 2 or 3 rods and then he'll rent a rod. And then you have the guy from Clearwater who goes fishing 10 times a year and he has a rod for trolling, a rod for flatlining, a rod for mangrove snapper, a rod for red snapper, a rod for gag grouper. So it kind of depends on you guys and what tackle you have and how much you want to fish. But I always tell people, just get out there. That first trip always has the steepest learning curve. If you're not a super expert angler that's done long-range trips before, that first long-range trip has a steep learning curve because you learn what you brought that you didn't need, and you learn what you didn't bring that you did need. And then also, as far as the tackle is concerned, you kind of fine-tune that for yourself. For me, you really, at most, need 5 different rods. One is a rod for trolling, if you want to troll. It's a bottom fishing trick. So most people just go out there to bottom fish, they don't bother trolling. For me, my trolling rod is also my big amberjack grouper rod. So you can get like a big 2-speed Shimano TLD 50, and that can double as your trolling rod, and then when you're done trolling, you can cut that tackle off and put a big 10-ounce lead and a big 120-pound leader on it, and a 10-ounce hook. That could be your big amberjack rod too. So you're kind of double teaming that one. And then you have your 2-speed reel or your single high-speed reel for the mangrove snapper. You got like your 6-aught reel or your really heavy 2-speed reel for the red snapper and red grouper. Then you have your bigger reel for the gag grouper or the really big red snapper. That's kind of your middle of the road. We cover a little bit of everything. Our rental rod is right in the middle. It does a little bit of everything well. So if you've got a light tackle, high-speed reel, bring that with you in the rental rod. So that way you have the rental rod for the heavier fish. You have the high-speed reel for the smaller fish. You know, our rental rod is very similar to this 6-aught. With 60, 80-pound test on it during that 39-hour trip. Now, for other trips, the rental rod varies in size and leader strengths depending on what we're fishing for. But for that 39-hour trip, it's very similar to that size. We actually use the Bass Pro Shop Seafire reels, that line reels, and the offshore angler sea line rods are what we use for rental rods, and they work really well. Did I answer your question? But the biggest thing, if you're planning to do a trip with us, I personally built out a website and I wrote all the tackle recommendations myself, and especially on that 39-hour or 12-hour extreme, that we filmed videos how to pack for a 39-hour trip. It's a 25-minute video of me sitting there telling you from what sleeping bag and stuff like that all the way through. So it really helps. And this guy over here has done a ton of it, so you can always talk to him. Any other questions? Red shirt.
So whenever you decide to run the 10-hour trips and maybe 12-hour trips,
Yeah.
do you run these 7 days a week?
No.
So what days do they leave out?
Good question. So what you're referring to is how in June, July, during red snapper season, we normally we do a 5-hour trip and a 10-hour trip almost every day. Our 10-hour trip becomes a 12-hour day trip. And the reason why is, like our 10-hour trip, basically, let me go through the whole list, make it easy. So our 5-hour half day is your beginning angler trip, your tourist trip. You've never been offshore before and you want to try deep sea fishing. That's the 5-hour trip. It's our shortest trip, closest to shore. We don't get anything really bigger than this, but it's a great time. It's $55. You get 3 hours of fishing time. You're out there on the water. You can't beat it. Then our 10-hour trip is the next step up. It's still really short trip in comparison. We're still not that far from shore, but it goes twice as far for twice as long. It's your shortest trip, closest to shore, that gives you a shot at grouper, keeper grouper. So the 10 hours is a great option for a lot of people who don't have the time for a 39-hour trip, or the budget to do a 12-hour extreme trip, or you want to just go fishing a lot. And then 10 hours is a great trip for that reason. Then you have the 12-hour night snapper trip, which is kind of your more advanced angler night trip, dialed in for those snapper species, Negro snapper, lane snapper, vermilions, yellowtails. Then you have your 12-hour extreme trip. The 12-hour extreme trip goes 70 to 100 miles. It's unlike any other trip we offer because it's on a small private charter boat. It's only got 16 people on it instead of 20, 30, 40, or 50 on our party boat trips. So it's on a small, super fast boat that goes super far. You fish on a 12-hour extreme the same areas that we fish in our 39 and 44-hour trips. So it's basically a 39-hour trip crammed into one single day. Really, really unique option. Then you have that 12-hour day trip. In my opinion, the 12-hour day trip, I just want to be brutally honest here, it's my least favorite option that we offer. The reason why is you're basically, the only reason we offer it is because there's such a high demand for red snapper, and we just don't have enough trips for everybody to get on. And also, not everybody has the time for a 39-hour trip or the budget for a 12-hour extreme. And not everybody remembered to book their trip back in January, so a lot of the trips fill up on them. So the 12-hour day trip is an option for everybody. It's only $129, and it gives you a chance to get to blue water and soak a bait, gets a chance for some big red snapper. We've caught big red snapper on that trip. 18, 19, 20-pound red snapper on that 12-hour day trip. But it's a 3, almost 4-hour ride out. 3, almost 4-hour ride back. You only end up with 4, 5, 6 hours of fishing time. So it's a 12-hour trip, but it's still a very short amount of fishing time in relation to these other red snapper options. But what it does is how we do that 12-hour day trip is our 10 hours Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, all the way through the year. That 12-hour day trip, once red snapper season starts, no more 10 hours. During red snapper, the 10-hour turns into a 12-hour day trip. So they're also Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, all the way through red snapper season. But if you want to go out, you want to catch red snapper with us at Hubbard's Marina, try and shoot for that 12-hour extreme trip if you can swing it, or try and think about doing a 39-hour trip or a 44-hour trip. If you can't make any of those work, then try that 12-hour day trip. And keep in mind, you have a good shot at catching some big fish. You gotta be ready. You gotta be willing to soak that bait. Really maximize the fishing time. Because you have a short fishing time, so I see people out there on that 12-hour day trip, and they're drinking a beer, talking to their buddy. It's like, dude, you had a 4-hour ride out here. What were you doing that whole time? Shut up and fish. You gotta maximize that bottom time out there and try to catch as much as you can in that short amount of time. But it's a great option to get out there to that blue water, get a chance at some of those fish. But you can't compare a trip like that to the 39-hour where you have 20 hours of fishing time. Because the 12-hour day, you're 40 to 60 miles for about 4 to 6 hours fishing time, and a 39-hour, you're 70 to 100 miles for 20 hours of fishing time. Plus, you get a 2-day back, so you're allowed twice the fish you're normally allowed on a single-day trip. So the 39 hours is a little different for that reason. That answer your question? Cool. Any other questions? Red snapper starts June 1st. It ends August 2nd at 12:01 a.m. The confusion a lot of people have with red snapper season is there's about 7 different red snapper seasons in the Gulf of Mexico. Here in the state of Florida, there's 2 red snapper seasons that you guys need to be concerned with. If you're fishing on a federally permitted for-hire vessel, so if you do a charter or a party boat trip in the Gulf of Mexico with federal permits on board, then your red snapper season is June 1st to August 2nd at 12:01 a.m. If you're on your buddy's boat, if you're on a private trip, if you and your buddy go out in your boat, or if you go out in your buddy's boat, and it's not a charter or a party boat trip with federal permits, then red snapper season starts June 11th and runs to July 12th. So that's probably the confusion there. And also, FWC lists June 11th to July 12th, where the Federal Gulf Council, Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council, to list June 1st to August 2nd. So every year we have this confusion with people thinking, oh, I can't go fishing until June 11th for red snapper. And that's not the case. So a little bit of confusion. I'm glad you brought that up to make sure everybody here was familiar with that. Any other questions? Great question. Braid versus mono. During red snapper season, use mono. The reason why is there's more people on the boat, so tangles tend to happen a little bit more from time to time. And when you're using mono, you have a shot to untangle. When you're using braid and you get braid tangled with other braid, or you get braid tangled with mono, the only option is breaking out that knife and cutting that line out. So what I do is I use braided line in certain circumstances, but when I use braided line, I have monofilament top shot. A little difficult, bad example, you can't really see it, but I use about 2/3 of the line in your water wants to be monofilament. The reason why is braided line doesn't stretch, whereas monofilament line does stretch. Now, from a perspective, sitting there in your chairs thinking about it, you're like, well, that means braided line's better. Not necessarily. Those fish, especially red snapper, mangrove snapper, when they get hooked, they shake very, very violently. Their head shaking, they're trying to fit that hook. And with braided line, what will happen is as they shake their heads, that hook tears a hole on the side of the face. And it starts small, but as he keeps shaking his head, that hole gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and he's able to easily spit your hook by the end of the fight. So a lot of times when you start using braid for the first time, you're cranking, you got him, you're like, oh yeah, I got this sucker. And then he's almost to the boat and he comes popping off your line. That's because of the braided line. If you add a top shot to it, it's basically like adding better shocks on the bottom of your truck. It gives you a little bit more shock absorption, so you're not bouncing as much, and that hole doesn't get as big as quickly. So that top shot is like a shock absorber in that sense. Also, your top shot enables you to, if you get tangled with your neighbor, what I do is I'm constantly, when I'm fishing, when I'm bottom fishing, got the butt of the rod under my right arm, my left hand's in front of the rod, and my forefinger and my thumb are always on top of that foregrip with the line going between it. And even in 300 foot of water, I can feel when I start crossing with someone. When I start feeling that line, some feel a little odd, someone's line's touching mine, I'm in high gear ratio and I crank like a bandit. Crank as fast as I can. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure whoever's crossing my line, by the time they realize it and start pulling back and that tangle tightens, that it's tightening around my monofilament top shot instead of my braided line. And that, whenever you get tangled and they're tangled on your mono top shot, it's real easy to get undone. Or we cut their braid because they're tangled in my mono. But the problem is, if you get tangled with the braid, the only option is cut your braid. So really, really important to use that top shot because A, it's a shock absorber. B, if you get tangled, you have a shot at getting it untangled. C, you lose less fish because the fish can't spit your hook as easily. And then D, your line acts like everybody else's lines around you. And if you're drift fishing or if you're anchor swinging, you're not going to swing into other people and get tangled more often. If you're using straight braid, you're going to cause issues if other people around you are not using straight braid as well. If everybody uses the same size or almost similar same size weight on their main line, like if everybody on the boat's using a 60-pound test and everybody on the boat's using a 6-ounce sled, you will not get tangled. Even if there's 1,000 people on that boat and you're drifting at 2 knots. Because if you're using the same size line and the same leads, as long as someone's not being completely ridiculous, you're not going to get tangled because all your lines can stay right next to each other and they're going to act uniformly. Whereas if you've got 5 guys fishing with 60-pound test and a 6-ounce lead, and one guy in the middle of them drops down 30-pound test with a 2-ounce lead, what's going to happen? He's going to tangle everybody on the boat. And And it's the same thing offshore. If you drop down, everybody's using monofilament, you drop down braid, you're going to tangle everybody. So always use the top shot. And preferably, I'm always using mono, except for certain situations. And here's the situations in which I would prefer to use braided line. First situation is for sensitivity. If I'm fishing, deep drop fishing, 6, 8, 900 foot of water, I'm using braided line because I need more sensitivity and I also need more line capacity in my spool. Also, another time that I'd be using braided line is for snapper fishing, like mangrove snapper, not red snapper, mangrove snapper. Smaller snappers in deeper water, 100, 120 foot of water. You need a little bit more sensitivity for those quick bite, soft bite fish. For red snapper, they're going to come up and wail on that bait, they're going to eat it, they're going to run. You don't necessarily need a lot of sensitivity for that. For gag grouper, for red grouper, for amberjack, those fish are going to hit your bait, you're going to know about it. So you don't need that sensitivity. That's when I would be using mono. Now, for trolling, braided line gives me more line capacity in my reel, and it also lets my line cut through the water better. So for trolling, I like using braid a lot, because you have more line capacity and your trolling plug will go deeper. If I'm trolling this lure behind the boat, if I have 80-pound monofilament, that lure is only going to be a few feet, or maybe 15, 20 feet under the water. But if I have 80-pound braided line, this lure will be almost twice as deep underwater. Still, you obviously have to have a leader, so you don't have braided line going straight to the lure, but that's why I prefer braided line for deep drop fishing, for snapper fishing, for trolling, and then also the last thing that braided line is preferred for, which is vertical jigging. If you're vertical jigging, you want braided line because you don't want the stretch of the monofilament. Because if your line's stretching, that means that lure's not working as much. Whereas if you're using braided line, the line's not stretching. When you lift your rod tip up, that lure is moving more. So you get more movement from your jig when you're vertical jigging using braid. Yes. Vertical jigging is becoming more and more popular. When I was a kid learning how to fish on these trips, I started fishing these 39 hours when I was 7, 8, 9 years old. And no one really vertical jigged ever. And most people use super heavy tackle. And no one really used double hook rigs. It was all big live bait and redfins. No one really used squid. And as the regulations have come out, things have gotten more and more regulated, and there's more people on the water. The trend has been to lighten your tackle. 40-pound test line was never on a 39-hour trip up until 10 years ago. 40-pound test line. Like when I was 7, 8, 9 years old, if I brought a rod with 40-pound test line on the boat, the crew would eat me alive, you know, because you just didn't use it. You used minimum 80-pound test. Nowadays, the line has gotten a lot lighter. We've gotten a lot more specific in our approaches, and also these fish have a lot more pressure. Think about how many people are in this Bass Pro Shops right now. Think about all that technology they have over there to show you what the fish looks like in 600 foot of water. You know, they got size scan. So these fish have a lot of pressure. So that's why the fishing approaches have changed quite a bit. And definitely we've gotten a lot better at what we do. Like look at hogfish. No one used to catch hogfish on hook and line, and nowadays the hog fishery on hook and line is huge. Everybody goes out there and catches hogs on hook and line now. Whereas 10 years ago, no one would have ever thought about doing it. So I forgot your question. What was it? For hogfish? The hogfish bite best in the cooler months, November through April, early April. But definitely the prime time for hogfish seems to be like February, March. But this year it started as early as December. We had really good hogfish in December, January, February, March. And what's cool about hogfish is because they're biting that time of year, there's not a lot of people on the boat. It makes it easy to target them. Because the thing about hogfish is they're one of the last fish to bite. So you get up on a piece of hard bottom, and there's a bunch of gray snapper, white runts, porgies, and stuff around. Those fish are going to bite first. Those hogfish are super leader shy and unaggressive, so they're hanging back. So things like chum help a lot. When you don't have 20, 30 people on the boat to help you catch all those aggressive fish, you've only got a couple buddies on your boat. Using something like this chum works really well. This is specifically designed for hogfish. They're hard pellets. They sink super fast, so that way you can drop them behind the boat. They're actually going to make it to the bottom, and they're also made of shrimp compost or something like that. I don't know. But it basically gets down there and it clouds up the water and it gets those hogfish real excited, and it feeds the other more aggressive fish, gets them out of your way so you can get to those hogfish more quickly. So, trick for the hogfish is going out at the right time of year and using lighter tackle. So for hogfish, typically you're using a spinning rod and reels combo, and you want to use something that's super light and super sensitive, but you also have enough strength to get that fish up off the bottom. So for hogfish, you've got 3 different approaches in my mind. You've got your jig head fishing, you've got your knocker rig fishing, which is your second one, or you've got your the couple jigs that they make for hogfish. They make naked ball jigs, they have some chappy jigs, there's a variety of hogfish jigs now. But typically the knocker rig fishing or the jig head fishing is the most popular for hogfish. Live shrimp is the most commonly used bait, but some of the more specialized bait that helps you kind of target and hone in on them with less bycatch would be rock shrimp, sand fleas, fiddler crabs. Fiddler crabs is one of my favorite baits. But live shrimp is definitely the preferred because it gives you more bycatch. If I was going out with charter clients, you chartered out my boat, I would give you live shrimp if we were targeting hogfish. The reason why is you can fish all day and not catch much using rock shrimp, but when you catch something, it's probably going to be a hogfish. Whereas with the live shrimp, you have a lot more bycatch. So you're rod bending more, but you're also catching fish that aren't hogfish, you know. So it kind of depends on how you want to go about it. If you want to go out there and target hogfish, use something like sand fleas or fiddler crabs. But if you want to go out there and have a lot of fun and catch a bunch of good eating fish and maybe a couple hogfish, use some live shrimp and use those methods, that knocker rig method, that jig head method. The trick is like 20, 30 pound test, really 30 pound test is a good starting spot. Now, also, you'll notice here, I've got braided line on the reel, but look how long that leader is. That fluorocarbon leader is the whole length of my rod, the whole length to the jig, and there's even some more fluorocarbon left in my spool. You're using like a 20-foot leader. That way that braided line that's not a top shot, that's a leader. So that way that braided line is nowhere close to that fish's mouth. I don't have any swivels, I don't have any hooks. Super, super light tackle, and you also want to make sure that you're as natural as possible. So no beads, no crimps, no swivels. Less is more when you're targeting those hogfish. About 30 pound test. Yeah. And then if you're not getting them, you can step it down to 20. But a hogfish fights really well. Hogfish have to be 40 inches to the fork. A lot of people screw that up. It's to the fork. So, no good examples up here. But what that means is, here's a good example. So, a fish's tail is a fork. And those hogfish, they have really long hairs hanging out here. So a lot of people are like, oh, that's a keeper hogfish. Now, you have to measure to the fork, which is the very middle of that back tail to the mouth. 14 inches to the fork. Hogfish, a 14-inch hogfish to the fork is almost a 16 or 17-inch fish. And those things fight. A keeper-sized hogfish will give you a run for your money, especially with these spinning reels. They'll even rock you up and break you off just like a grouper will. So they're a lot of fun for that reason. And you know you caught one because you're out there, you're catching the gray snapper, the white grunts, and the porgies. You're having fun, but then all of a sudden your rod doubles over and you're screaming drag. That's when you caught your hogfish. Pretty obvious. It's fun though. Any other questions? We got a few more minutes. We caught a 17.98 pound hogfish in a 39-hour recently. The world record is something ridiculous, like 27 pounds or something. A huge hogfish, something to write home about would be anything over about 6 pounds. That's a huge fish.
Are you still getting them out, right?
we're getting them occasionally, but they're very hit and miss. When the hogfish are biting really well, that your question was what trip to do to catch them. And I apologize, I talked about everything except for what you asked. The 5-hour half day and the 10-hour all day are definitely the 2 trips that you would want to go on to target them, because anywhere from 30 to about 70 foot of water is where you target hogfish. The hogfish, you catch them out in deeper water, they're out there, but in deeper water there's a lot more fish to compete with them and it's harder to catch them. So 30 to 70 foot of water is where you target those hogfish, and that's where those half day and all day fishing trips fish. But best way to target them would be to do a private charter. That way we could sit on the spot, because again, they're the last fish to feed. And if I got 20, 30, 40 people on my party boat, I want to make sure Joe from Idaho is having a good time too, and he doesn't give a rip about your hogfish. He just wants to catch fish and have a good time. So I can't sit on the spot and soak it to where all the fish stop feeding and we start catching hogfish, because Joe from Idaho is going to be pissed. So you've got to try to balance that, and that's what makes it a little harder on a party boat to catch a lot of hogfish, because you're trying to make sure everybody has a good time. But in that time of year, January, February, we're really slow, so there's not a lot of Joes from Idaho. It's mostly locals, and if we get a boat full of locals who want to catch hogfish, we have that ability to sit on a spot and soak it. But with a private charter, we're able to go target hogfish, and that means we're going to sit on a spot until nothing is biting. That's when we start catching hogfish.
Deep water trips are required to bring our own venting tools?
Yes, on our deeper trips, we require venting tools. A venting tool is something that allows that fish to return to bottom. It's super important. If you're fishing beyond 70, 80, 90 foot of water in the summertime when the water's hot, if you're fishing beyond 90, 100 foot of water when the water is cold, you must have a venting tool and you must actively use it. One of the things that really burns me up is how many of you guys are familiar with the fishing sites online, the fishing clubs on Facebook and stuff? Anybody know what I'm talking about? Someone posts a picture of a snook and you're holding it wrong, what happens? They get chewed out. Everybody's, you're stupid the way you're holding that fish. You killed that snook, you know? But someone will post a photo of a big red snapper come June 11th when the private season opens, and they'll have 10 red snappers floating dead behind them on the surface of the water. No one will say shit. That pisses me off. Because to me, holding the snook wrong, yeah, you might break its jaw, yeah, it might die a few weeks later. But you're taking a photo of a red snapper and you got 10 dead fish floating behind you, we know you killed 10 dead fish, not the one snook you were holding wrong, you know? So to me, it's really important we kind of change everybody's outlook and bring it to their attention that when you catch that fish in deep water and its eyes are bulged out, or its stomach's poking out of its mouth, or its scales are bubbled up, it has what you call a barrel chump. And that's from retrieving that fish from the bottom to the surface at a quick rate of speed, and that will not allow that fish to go back to the bottom. That gas builds up, and that fish cannot return to bottom, so he floats away and dies. So if you throw a fish in the water and it floats away, you have effectively killed that fish. And that is why on the East Coast they have 5 days of red snapper, because they only have 20, 30,000 pounds of red snapper, and that season can be closed all year, and they're still harvesting 40, 50,000 pounds of snapper, and that's because the season is closed. But if you're out there fishing, you catch one, you throw it back, it's going to die if you don't vent it. And they do these mortality studies, and they look at average Joe anglers versus other people, and they test these mortality rates. And the mortality rate among average Joe angler in the Gulf of Mexico is ridiculously high because not enough people know about venting fish. So when you go on our trips, you must have a venting tool. And we're going to call you out if you don't vent your fish right. So that way, when you get off our boat, you go out on average Joe's boat with your buddy, you'll know how to do it. You can teach other people too. But all that to say, yes, we require a venting tool, but I'll give you one free if you don't want to buy a nice fancy one. But I'll give you one of the ones that will work on the dock too. So yes, you require them, but we do offer to give you one if you don't want to buy a nice one.
You sell good ones at your store?
What?
You sell the good ones at your store?
Yes. Bass Pro has a couple of them as well. Shameless plug. Now, as far as venting goes, if you're not going to fish with us, you're not going to learn how to do it in one of our seminars on the ride out, you can just Google it, or you can email me. My cards are up here. The Salt Strong people I mentioned before, we filmed a course with them, and we did a whole thing about venting a fish. So you could just Google how to vent a fish, Hubbard's Marina, and that link will pop up. And there's videos, photos, and a bunch of how-tos on how to do that as well. So if you're fishing on your own boat, you know how to do it. Good question, man. Any other questions? The seminar was that good. Now, guys, keep in mind, we are going to pull those free trips here in a minute for those of you guys who arrived early and got those raffle tickets. Now, keep in mind, if you don't win, tomorrow night, every Sunday night, really, well, most every Sunday night, we do our live stream show. So if you enjoyed this, we do it every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook and YouTube channels. So that gives you a chance to sit there at home on your couch and watch a fishing conversation as well and answer questions. And we'll answer them right there in person. And also during the show, we show you photos and videos of what we've been catching. And instead of just listening to me talk, we also talk to some of the other captains and crews. So it's a cool way to learn even more about nearshore and offshore fishing. And we give away free fishing trips and discounted trips during that live show as well. So make sure you check that out tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. if you enjoyed this. Hopefully you enjoy that as well. Also, don't forget to come up and grab a brochure if you need them. Brochures have the website on it and the phone number. Our website, I really pride myself on our website. I put a lot of time, energy, and money into that website. We have when you go to hubbardsmarina.com, on the bottom right-hand corner is our email harness. You can enter your email. Every Friday, I send a really in-depth fishing report with what's going on inshore, nearshore, and offshore. And it includes a coupon, and it tells you what events are coming up. It's a great way to stay connected with us. And also on our website, when you go to the website, there's a fishing tabs. Even if you're never going to fish with us, even if you have your own boat, even if you're fishing with your buddy's boat, our website is still a great source because under the fishing trips tab is a weather links page. And that weather links are all the weather tools that I use to check the weather for our trips. So it's a great resource for you and your own boat. And then we have the fishing tips page where we have a bunch of how-to videos, how to tie a double snell rig, how to rig that thread fin plug, how to rig your baits, a lot of really cool rigging videos. And then all these Bass Pro Shops seminars we film and put on there too. So tons of information on the website for you, okay guys? Don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as well.